My name is Adina Greenidge. I just want to say off the bat, I'm really honored to just be on a panel with so many powerful people. Like, I'm not a part of a huge organization. I'm really much just like an individual activist, but I'm just so like in awe of all the things that you guys have done and what you work for. And I'm just gonna say thank you for all the work that you do. Just like a round of applause for these guys. I know you guys are still having fun. So part of my activism career kind of started when I was in college. I founded my school's Project NER chapter, which partners with the American Islamic Congress. So what Project NER does is interfaith dialogue group between Muslim and non-Muslim communities, and we kind of started it in the midst of the whole Muslim ban on campus. So I went to American University, which is a predominantly white institution, and it didn't have a lot of people of color, it didn't have a lot of religious diversity. So during the Muslim ban, there were a lot of students, and especially my friends, that felt very vulnerable and not really safe in their community, didn't feel safe studying in the spaces that they felt safe studying. And so we kind of started this organization, or refounded an organization that kind of died out in our community like about 10 years before I had started there, just to bring light to the issue that we're kind of all the same people. We have, even though we have different faiths, we have different religions, we're all worshiping one God or multi-gods. It doesn't really matter. It's kind of like whatever you feel in your heart. So we started this organization to, sorry, I'm getting kind of nervous. Thank you. So we started this organization and we kind of centered it around event planning. So we did interfaith events. One of the examples of this was one of the ones that my friend pioneered, which was spread hate, or spread hummus, not hate. So sorry, that's kind of really bad. So that was basically an event that combined both the Jewish community and the Muslim community in our school to kind of just come together and talk about each other's faiths, talk about the similarities and differences that they all celebrate, and that it's okay to be different and still accept each other. And then one of the big things that kind of took me aback and kind of gave me a reality check on campus is that when we tried to create a safe space for Muslim students to study and just pray, because currently the space that they had to pray in was a broom closet, which was barely bigger than like a 10-foot space for about maybe 50 students on campus, and at any point in the day, whenever they wanted to pray, they just didn't have space to do it. And we just faced a lot of backlash and discrimination from the administration itself, and it was just a real eye-opening experience for me, and prompted me to move forward and grow the organization. So when I finally passed it on, I passed it on to, we held elections and we passed it on to a majority of a Muslim e-board. So we were really proud about that because I am not Muslim. I was raised Christian, but I'm agnostic. So I was kind of really proud to have a Muslim leading this organization, as someone who actually knows the intersection, because it's a part of the American Islamic Congress. So I didn't really feel comfortable being the president of the organization, not really having that background and that experience. So, and so where I am now, I'm at a policy analysis firm in DC, and I'm a research coordinator. So that's kind of like where I've ended up, but I'm really looking forward to kind of getting involved in organizations like the ones that my colleagues here on this panel are in.
All right, that was a little bit better. Good job. I'll get easier, I swear. So my name is Brianna Sia, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Generation Vote. And I'm also a researcher at the Brennan Center for Justice. So for me, democracy is literally my life all day, every day. So more than happy to geek out about it with y'all afterwards. So at Generation Vote, we educate, mobilize, and connect young people like yourselves to become agents of change in local electoral and advocacy campaigns. And we do that through our unique model of engagement. So I just graduated from college, literally in May, so just, I may come off a little bit older than I am, but I swear I'm just 21 years old, still figuring out my life. But when I was in college, when I first went to Binghamton University in upstate New York, I wanted to get involved in literally everything, like in all the political groups possible. I got involved in local community service and in local campaigns. And in upstate New York, they are not used to seeing a young woman of color, like stepping up and really challenging the status quo, particularly on the local level. And every time I would question, how come we are not engaging young people in an authentic way, whether it be in local campaigns, whether it be in local government, or even through my administration, I was met with resistance every single time. At one point even, an administrator told me in a room full like this, in front of my peers, "Oh, honey, boo-hoo, are you asking how can the university help you make a difference? Why don't you figure that out yourself?" was like 17 years old. I was like, excuse me, honey, what? And that was a really frustrating experience. And so I remember turning around literally that night to my friends and saying, you know what? I'm gonna show them. I'm gonna show them that young people can take control of the narrative in this community and that we can actually organize in a way that can make history. And so I created this model of engagement that consisted of 5 simple steps and that ultimately laid the foundation for Generation Vote. The first step was to create a Generation Vote team, or a team of students, literally my best friends, and some people who are somewhat interested in government, and to talk to our peers. And we did this through a student opinions research initiative, in which we literally just walked around and spoke to hundreds of students in my community and asked them about the issues that they cared about, and asked them about how they felt about local government and the way that the administration treated them, right? We then collected that information and wrote a youth platform, the first one ever in upstate New York, that basically said, based on these interviews and based on the research that we did, this is what young people in Broome County care about, and these are solutions and ways to address these issues that we are willing to mobilize around. After creating the youth platform, we then shopped around and tried to find a local champion who was running for office who would be willing to incorporate the youth platform, our ideas and our solutions, into his campaign. And we worked with his campaign, so the county executive race, and as a result of integrating youth voices, youth leadership, and youth issues in this county executive campaign, we were able to flip the administration, and we made history. We literally broke student turnout records on campus and off campus. People were like, damn, like, you guys have something here, right? And so as a result, we took that model and we created a training program that trains young people like yourselves on how to change the narrative in your communities, right? It's one thing to go to a room full of young people and be like, y'all are probably left-leaning, you know, based on like the national media, so you probably should vote for me because I'm a Democrat. Or even for Republicans, they do the same thing with their people, right? But that's not an authentic way of engaging us, right? That doesn't actually incorporate our voices and our ideas into these campaigns and into these coalitions. And so the Gen Vote model trains people on how to incorporate that into the conversation. And so I get to work with young people all across New York and in Florida, and we're expanding in other states, to implement the Gen Vote model and start Gen Vote teams. And from flipping literally one of the top 5 races in the country in Congress to doing pioneering research in our communities about student opinions research, and creating youth platforms, and also being involved in the first voter reform efforts in New York in over 100 years, it's been an incredibly empowering experience to see that young people, not only do we want to get involved, but we want to make history and we want to change the narrative. So happy to talk to you all about that today and how we do it.
All right, hey, I am Shy. I'm from right outside of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm a PhD student. I'm super black, like in my politics. In the way I go about my work, in the way I talk about my work. I am a funder, so I get to literally spend all day giving money away, which is not as great as it sounds, to be clear. So a lot of what my work looks like is kind of in these 2 parts. On one part, I get to help foundations and really rich people understand what's happening in Black and brown communities across the country. What are the issues that young people that live in poverty care about? What are the challenges that affect folks in getting to the polls? How are folks not having access to medical care? How are folks just not having access to clean water, potholes, a variety of things, grocery stores, right? And then what can folks do to move that along? How do we help move those channels? Is it that we're getting new people in office? Is it that we're holding the folks in office accountable? Are we helping to develop new systems? Like, what does that look like? And really organizing very, very rich people and foundations to best understand what's coming up from the ground so that they're giving in a way that supports what we actually need versus just giving to whatever it is that they think is cool or sexy. Like Parkland, which is cool and sexy, but much like what's been said before, gun violence organizing has been happening around the country for decades, particularly in Black and brown communities. So then on the second end, I get to work with really amazing nonprofits, helping them to best organize their work. So I spend weeks at a time with a particular group, not only giving them the funding, but helping them best understand how to organize their organization so that they're efficient, so that they're caring for themselves. I get to help them meet other young people that are also organizing. I get to help them think about running political campaigns. I fund politics. politicians. So I also get to push politicians to listen to them, bringing them to spaces that they wouldn't normally be able to get in because they don't have the money, nor do they have the power. And I think the most important thing that I do is I'm authentically myself in every space. So like I dress like this, I like talk the way I want to talk, I am super chill, and it kind of shifts the dynamic in those spaces. I'm also 25, so I'm like super young. I don't want to hear anything about I'm too young to be in this space. I don't want you to tell other people I bring with me we're too young to be in this space, because ultimately in spaces like Texas, 1 out of 3 voters are folks that are under 30 and they're Latinx. So the country is changing, it's getting super young, and it's time for folks to kind of make that shift. And in being myself, it allows us all to really speak truthfully and honestly about what's happening and have dialogues between folks that normally don't have the power structures to support.